Hello everybody, it's Adri with Raising Batman. I finally have time to sit down for a little bit and talk about the summit stuff. Just sitting outside of Gage's ABA therapy right now. I do have a meeting with them as well here pretty soon, but I wanted to get this out of the way because I've been talking about it for a while now. So, okay, I'm going to start with the summit that I was speaking at. It was all about sensory integration and what you can do kind of at home to help your kiddos, but it was mainly raising awareness about people that do have sensory issues and what to look for and what may be going on inside their head to maybe, you know, help them out a little bit, and as far as understanding and being a little bit more patient and kind of signs of sensory issues and things like that if you don't know much about it, or if you are a teacher and have a kid in your classroom that you don't quite know exactly what's going on with them, and you think it might be some sensory issues or something like that. Also, if it was about your kid who you think might be have something going on, but you don't really know what it is. That's one thing I kind of realized that I didn't really think about before this summit is I used to do daycare as well. I used to have lots of kids in my classroom. I did mainly 3-year-olds. I've done babies and after schoolers and things like that too. But mainly 2s and 3s, and I did have a few kids on the spectrum too before I had Gage. So I knew a little bit about autism, mainly from talking to the parents and stuff about their kids, but I didn't really know how wide of a spectrum it was. I knew what that kid needed, what their specific needs were, what their specific things they had going on to help them out were. So I didn't really think about it, but I kind of do have both sides of that, of the teacher aspect of the kids in your class and having multiple kids at once, and also the parent side. And I think that's one reason why I am so involved with Gage's therapists and teachers and everything like that. Not saying that's why anybody else is that involved, just me especially. I can kind of see where they're coming from on certain things as well. And I've worked with parents that are really accepting and really open with you and very good communication, which is amazing. It's actually pretty rare. I've been told that by a lot of Gage's therapists and teachers as well. Same, because there are a lot of parents out there that either, they always don't recognize if there is something going on with their kid. Either they just don't really know what it is, or if they just, honestly, some people are in denial too. They don't want to think that anything might be, wrong with their kid. But either way, it was a very, very informational summit about sensory stuff and just different signs to look out for and different things. Just raising awareness on it and information of what is going on with them as far as like neurologically, and because a lot of people don't think about it. Whenever people say sensory issues, a lot of people don't really know what that means. And if you think about your senses, your sight, your smell, your taste, your hearing, your touch, just everything, what all that entails. So somebody that has sensory issues can either be hypersensitive or hypo, so their hearing can be very, very sensitive to where they can hear things that other people can't, that we won't even be able to hear, but they might be excruciating to them. Or stuff that's just kind of loud and just kind of bothers us a little bit, but like my son with the vacuum cleaner and the hair dryer and hand dryers and bathrooms and things like that, he will cover his ears and run screaming. With me, it's just kind of like, oh, it's a little annoying, you know? And same thing with like smell and taste. That's why a lot of kids on the spectrum have a lot of feeding issues. That's Gage's issue, is he has very sensitive smell, very sensitive taste as well. A lot of his feeding issues stem from sensory issues. And, you know, just everything. Some kids on the spectrum can't stand to have their teeth brushed or their hair brushed or taking a bath, and other kids love water. So it just depends. It's everybody's different. But, you know, one thing that I think is really cool that I learned from watching one of Temple Grandin's, I believe it was a TED Talk that she was on. She actually had a scan done on her brain, and she is a very, very visual thinker. And one of the scans she had done, she put up on a projection at her TED Talk, and her optic nerve, the main nerve that connects your eye, you know, was huge, much larger than an average person's, you know, optic nerve. And it just, she is getting so much visual information at one time, more than what most people would. So it's just really interesting to see stuff like that and to hear stuff like that, how different their brains are wired. And it was a very, very good workshop. And then, of course, towards the end of it, there's a panel, and I was on the panel speaking among some other people, and you know, we get to do questions and answers and things like that. So, you know, that is something that I absolutely love doing. I had so much fun doing it. I really love working with kids. I love helping people. I've always either wanted to work with kids or animals. I just kind of have a bleeding heart for stuff like that. It just, you know, even all the kids that I worked with over the years in daycare, I remember their names. I remember their faces. Like they're like my own. Like I love these kids, and I love getting to help them. And it's so just heartwarming to do stuff like that. And when I speak at summits and do things like that, it really feels like if I can just, you know, help that one person, it's so worth it. It's so awesome. I mean, I say worth it, but it's fun getting to do that, because I love connecting with people. I love sharing our story, and I love being able to help if I can in any way. And that's why I started this page, for resources for people that need it, and you know, or just somebody to talk to that's going through the same thing. I mean, that's, like I say all the time, just message me, just comment, just something. I mean, if you need any kind of help, you're struggling with anything, please just let me know, and I'll help out in any way I can. If nothing else, I will listen, and just be that person that can, you know, just sympathize with you. And people that go to those workshops, they are teachers working in daycare. They are parents that want to be there to learn more of how to help their kids or what's going on with their kids. Grandparents, just whoever, is there any caregiver that just wants to know more of how they can help out, or at least understand what's going on with them. Those are the kind of people that are there, and I love talking to those people, because like I said, I've worked in classrooms, I've worked with kids, I know, you know, I've worked with typical kids, I have a typical kid, I worked with kids on the spectrum, I have a kid on the spectrum. So, you know, I mean, I am not a professional therapist, I am not a teacher that went to school for years to do this, but I do have some tips and tricks from the classroom, and just from listening to all of Gage's therapists over the years, listening to his teachers, following through with what they tell us to do, and it works, you know, and I do what works. I mean, it was a lot of trial and error, and you need to figure out what's going to work with your kid specifically, because everybody's different, but you just got to do it, and life is so much smoother when you do, when you finally find out what specific thing works with your kid. It makes things a lot easier. It alleviates a lot of frustration. And that's one thing in understanding, and teaches you a lot more patience when you figure out it's not something they're doing on purpose. It's not something that they can help. It's not something they're doing to make you mad or to be defiant. It's something that they can't control. And that's another thing of people ask a lot, like, what is stimming? What does stimming mean? I explain it a lot too, like, stimming is what everybody does, just everybody does it differently. Gage's stimming, he likes to script things. He likes to act out and repeat movie quotes and things like that. He likes to spin. He likes to he likes to kind of pick his nose sometimes, or play with his hair, or play with his ears, or whatever. Other kids like to just run or spin or rock. Some kids rock back and forth. Some kids, Gage bites his nails and stuff too. And I mean, typical people do it too. I mean, if you're sitting here just not even thinking about it, twirling your hair, I tap my foot a lot. Tap your foot or kind of bounce your knee. I do that a lot. I kind of sit here and play with my nails and stuff too. I touch my face a lot. Like, there's a lot of things that is considered stimming. It's just everybody does it differently, and it's something that they're doing, like, not even thinking about it, and it's something that kind of calms them. It's very calming. Especially with somebody with a lot of energy all the time and they can't control it. Which brings me to the other side, the other summit. So there seems to be this huge split in the autism community of, is it a neurological thing or is it a biomedical thing that you can treat with supplements and detox and all this other stuff? What I like to do is what I've always done, is keep an open mind about everything and try to gather as much information as I can on any kind of subject that I want to know more about. And obviously I want to learn more about autism because my son has autism. And any way that I can help him out, not change him. I don't want to change him, but help his daily struggle. And that's what I'm going to do. So, you know, and that's why he's in all these different therapies and stuff like that. It's not to change him, it's to help him. It's to help him learn how to tie his shoe. You know, it's to help him write. It's to help him get potty trained. It's to help him stop running away from me, or learn his emotions and pinpoint his emotions and learn different strategies to calm himself. So later on in life, in the real world, instead of having a huge meltdown, he himself can figure out how to calm himself down, which nobody's forcing him not to suppress his emotions. We don't want to do that for sure, but here is a better way to deal with it than just to kick and scream and things like that, which younger kids are going to do that anyway. My toddler does that all the time. It's because she doesn't know how to regulate her emotions yet, just like us adults. We did it as kids too, but now as adults we can figure out what works for us. If it's breathing in slowly, breathing out slowly, counting to 10, if it's meditation, if it's whatever you do to lessen your stress. All of this stuff, all this therapy he's in is life skills to help him later on in life. And as a kid or just whatever. And they're fun. Most of his therapies are play-based. And they make it fun. And that's why he loves to go. And he's learning at the same time. So, on the biomedical side, everything that I seem to learn at this summit, which this side, I mean, it's kind of new to me. I've always been on the other side of it. That's what I know. But once I heard about this, you know, I dive into it and I do a lot of research, and I'm grateful that I got to go to this summit to learn more about it. Like I said, it's, to me, it's either I like to make educated decisions or I just obsess over everything. I like to read and I like to do all my own research. So, before I make any kind of decision or do anything with myself or my kid or just whatever, I'm just not going to dive into something blindly. That's just me. I'm not just going to do what somebody else tells me to do. I'm going to do my own research. So, but basically, like, a lot of what they were saying there is a lot of their issues are from inflammation. Inflammation of the brain, inflammation of the nervous system, inflammation in their gut. Basically saying that once inflammation starts in the body, kids on the spectrum cannot turn it off. So like we have in a typical person's body, once your fight or flight system gets turned on, all the chemicals get, all your norepinephrine, all your adrenaline, everything just goes crazy, haywire. But then once your body realizes there's no more danger, it's turned off, your serotonin goes up, your dopamine goes up, you calm down. Well, from everything I gathered at that summit, what most of them were saying is they are always in fight or flight mode, like all the time. And that's kind of like, I have a lot of panic attacks and stuff like that too sometimes. And that's kind of what it seems like, is my body is constantly in that fight or flight mode and it can't turn off. And I've taken a lot of psychology, a lot of, I say a lot, college, high school, I did all my electives like psychology, anatomy, biology. I love all that stuff. I'm a science nerd. So a lot of the stuff they were saying makes sense as far as like the inflammation and things like that. I mean, even growth, all kinds of stuff can cause inflammation. And I'm not going to deny that my son could definitely use some extra vitamins, seeing as how he only eats like maybe 3 or 4 things. And if you're not getting the vitamins you need, your brain or your body is not going to be able to function the way it would be if it did have all of those vitamins and everything. And if your body's not producing it, etc., etc. So a lot of that side makes sense, and Gage does take a multivitamin that has a lot of stuff in it, but it's not everything that he needs. And I've known that, but he won't take a chewable tablet, he won't take capsules, he won't, he doesn't really eat any food that I can mix anything in, so I was kind of at a loss, I'm like, what do I do here? But they do talk, people on the biomed side, they always use this word recovery all the time, like their kid has recovered. It's just like I said, it's kind of that split, one side or the other, where some people say it's either going to be a neurological condition, it can't be recovered or cured or whatever word you want to use, and the other side, seems to be like, well, if you detox them, if you give them all these supplements, if you, do this and this, get their nutrition right, get their gluten-free and casein-free and all that stuff. And that's, that's good and all. And I know some people that do both. They do therapies and they do all of the other stuff as well if they can. And some people say it makes a huge difference. And like I said, I'm not going to deny that, kids that have a poor diet wouldn't benefit from vitamins, as far as getting him gluten-free and all that good stuff, I'm lucky he eats. So, that would be extremely hard, because he knows anything that's like, if it's a different brand, if it's a different anything, I can't trick him by putting it in a different box. Like, none of that works. He's too clever for that. And it's just, and to me, I mean, just in my personal opinion, it just seems like with that side, you are alleviating the symptoms as far as, yes, maybe they can't digest gluten very well, maybe they can't do this very well, they're not in pain anymore, their tummy isn't hurting anymore, maybe they're regular now, they're not backed up all the time, and that's great. But it's still there, and you might be alleviating some of the symptoms of, like, if they are, say your body's deficient in this certain vitamin and you're giving them this vitamin, maybe they can pay attention a little bit more with this certain thing, like I said, the science of it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, that's like an ongoing thing. It's always going to be an ongoing thing of, if their body is not producing it, you're always going to have to supplement for that because their body is not producing it. So I think that's it. Like I said, it's just kind of, I like to keep an open mind. Like I said, I'm not one side or the other, yes or no, black and white. I think there's a lot of gray areas, and I think there's a lot of research that still needs to be done. Nobody knows everything for sure. Autism is not a new thing, but it's not, it hasn't had all the research that other stuff does. We just don't know enough about it yet, especially in my opinion, to be like, it's this or that. There is a lot of stuff that needs to be done, but for right now, what I'm doing is what I can do for my son to help him with his daily struggles. And what we've been doing so far works for him. He's doing great. He's awesome. He progresses a lot. I mean, every time we go to do an evaluation for him, he's mastered all his goals, and we have to make new goals because he's just progressing so much. He is super smart. He is a fast learner. He picks up on things very well. He's about to get at his school. He hasn't been reevaluated with his school as far as like his diagnosis since he was 3. He's now 6. We are about to redo everything, and I'm nervous, but yet I'm excited because I know he's come so far since then. I mean, so far. And I know we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for his therapies. I've never given him any kind of supplements. I mean, like I said, I give him a multivitamin. I've never done anything like that, any kind of like detox kind of stuff with him. I don't know if it would help him even more so if I did, but I can tell you I don't have the money for that. It's all very, very expensive. That's one thing I did learn at the summit. It's none of this stuff is covered by your insurance. I mean, maybe some of the tests and labs and stuff they run are, which I think is a good thing anyway. It's just like doing blood work for anybody else. Like if I go to the doctor and get blood work, they're going to check my levels. They're going to check my hormone levels. They're going to check, all my vitamin, everything to see what's going on with me. And I think that that's good that they do that with kids anyway, because every kid is different. Every kid's blood work is going to look different. If you, just like when I was pregnant, they used to do urine tests all the time to check your sugar levels and everything else. I mean, it's just like anything else. So science-based, that makes sense. That yes, you're going to go in there and you're going to run all the labs and you do the genetic testing and stuff like that. I'm actually pretty curious about that. I've heard, and I know some moms that have gotten their kids genetic testing and insurance covered it. I've asked my pediatrician about it and she said they don't. So I don't know. I mean, I would like to look into that stuff. Gage has never had anything like that done. He's never had any kind of genetic testing. He's never had any labs done, anything like that. And like I said, I didn't really know about any of this stuff before. I just started researching everything. And I mean, the pediatrician I have, that's all she's really done is kind of referred me to this therapy or whatever, which has been working for us, and that's great. I've never really done a full blood workup on him because it was just traumatizing. It's so traumatizing, and every time I've taken him to a pediatrician about it, they're like, well, as long as he's eating, just give him what he likes to eat. He doesn't look malnourished. He's not, he's okay weight-wise. He's growing. He's doing okay. As long as you keep giving him a vitamin, it'll be all right. So on one hand, you want to trust your doctors, and on the other hand, it's like, I've done that before, and if I would have trusted his doctors back then, I would have never even gotten his diagnosis. So it's like, it's so hard with this stuff, because like I said, there's just not enough research out there. There's, not everybody is trained in this stuff. There's a ton of pediatricians out there, but not all of them are trained with autism. You have to go to like a special MAPS doctor to do that. Or, if you're lucky enough, you can find a doctor that has just happened to work with a bunch of kids on the spectrum or has a kid on the spectrum themselves. It's just same thing with everything in the autism world. You have to find that one good therapist or that one good teacher or that one person that connects with you or connects with your kid, that knows your kid and has a good communication and can look at every aspect, every angle, not just coming in and going, hey, we're going to try this. If it doesn't work, doesn't work, sorry. I mean, you need to try something else. If it's not working, try something else. And so far, this is what's been working with Gage. is all of his therapies. He has progressed so much. He's like a different kid. And when I say he's like a different kid, I mean, I know I've said in videos before, he used to just be a little ball of meltdowns all the time. He didn't talk. All he did was cry and scream constantly, and kicking and throwing things, and just, you know, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with him. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I couldn't help him. You know, he couldn't talk to me. He couldn't show me. He couldn't anything. And, you know, he'd always run from me, and it's just no matter what I did. And now he can tell me what he wants or what he needs for the most part. We sing together, we play together, we laugh together, you know. Before it just kind of seemed like he was off in his own world all the time, in a shell, you know, and just wanted to break out of his shell. And now, you know, I see that. Before, you know, and a lot of it is age too. As he gets older, you know, he starts coming out of his shell a little bit more. I mean, before, I didn't even know what to get him, like Christmas and birthdays and stuff like that, because he didn't show any interest in anything. And now, you know, he loves everything transportation. He loves cars. He loves school buses. He loves fire trucks. He loves ambulances. He loves Batman. He loves PJ Masks. I mean, stuff like that. I mean, it's just all this stuff that you think of when you think of kids, and like, oh, who's your favorite superhero? Oh, who's your, you know, what's your favorite color? Things like that. He didn't. I didn't know what he liked. You know, I mean, he didn't show favoritism to one thing or another. He couldn't tell me, you know, and it's just stuff like that I say he's come out of his shell and he's like a different kid, is because he can voice his opinion now. He can point to things that he likes now. He gets excited about things now. He can label his emotions and say, I'm sad, or I'm mad, or I want this, or I want that, you know, I want to do this, you know, I want, I'm not going to say his therapist's name, but he requests certain therapists and things like that, or I want mommy, I want daddy, you know. So it's given him a voice. It's given him so much more than that too, and I'm so very grateful for that. And so that's what works with him, and that's what we do, and that's all I can do, is my best for him. And so yeah, that's basically, I mean, the summits were very, very different. Came from very different angles, and like I said, do your research, go with your gut. Always trust your gut. Always trust your gut, especially with your kids. You know your kids. You know what was going to work best for your kids. Nobody else. I mean, people that work with them, yeah, they're gonna know. I mean, as far as like what he's doing, what goals, and what they think he could do next, but you ultimately know what's best. And I know sometimes it can be hard between teachers and parents, and therapists and parents, because I know as a daycare teacher, I was with those kids more than their parents were most of the time. I mean, you know, parents that work all the time just to make a living and just to provide for their kids, it sucks that they don't even get to spend the time that they want to with their kids. And I felt for them, you know, but I also, sorry, I'm going to get emotional about it, because I'm grateful that I can do that for Gage. And that's another reason why I treated those kids like my own. Because I know I would want somebody to do the same for my kid if I couldn't be there. Because I know a lot of the parents wanted to be and they couldn't. And I have a big heart for those kids, because, like I said, I mean, it's just, and I know how hard it was for those parents to leave those kids every day, and how hard it was for me whenever I was working at daycare and I had Gage with me. Whenever he was younger, he was a baby, so it was really hard even then, his separation anxiety and stuff. And I will never forget, the older he got, how hard it was leaving him in that classroom when he had such bad separation anxiety. I mean, I was there, I was working there, but I was also going to school, So I was either in a different classroom or I had to leave him for a few hours. It's hard. It's really hard. And it got to where the more he was showing more signs of his sensory issues and things like that, the more I realized he just can't handle a daycare scene, and I had to leave. I quit going to school. I quit working. We found out about his we got his diagnosis, and I just kind of dove in and did everything I could, and it just all worked out, and everything happens for a reason. That my husband got a promotion around the same time that we were able to do that. And we do struggle. We do have debt. It is very, very hard. We sacrifice a lot, but somehow we make it work. But yeah, just always go with your gut. Always trust it. Do what you can, what works for you. Advocate. Don't give up. You got to fight for your kid. I'm fighting for Gage right now for a certain service that I feel that he needs. And it's not always just easy. Here you go, here it is. So just keep on keeping on, and let me know if you guys have any questions or anything. Like I said, just want somebody to talk to. I am lucky enough to have a good enough relationship with Gage's therapists and teachers and things like that, I have a few resources, a few that I can still contact and ask questions to, and I hope I'm not bothering any of them, but I do. I just talked to one today about some services that I had questions about, so don't hesitate to do that. So, alright, until the next video, bye, thanks.